And now, if you have made a butterfly, will you and all the children please come forward and sit right down here. Yep. Good, right down here. There's plenty of room. Some on the wood, some on the carpet, some on the wood. Perfect. I'll wait for you. If you guys will come forward, then the ones behind you will have room. Okay, everybody scoot. 1, 2, scoot. 1, 2. Perfect. Thank you. They can do it now. So you guys want to, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you, did you make your butterflies? And are they have clothespins? Well, come right over here and let's hang them up so they can fly. That's it. Good. Uh-oh, my hand. Good, here we go.
There's only a certain number of strings in it.
Okay. All right. If we've used all the strings up, then put some on the crosses. Would you guys put yours on the cross by the flowers?
Anybody have a butterfly to put up here?
Oops.
We have a few more strings.
A few more strings. Can I put yours up? Thank you. It just fell. It's all right.
Okay.
So Miss Rose, I can take that one.
Perfect. Can you get it on there? Nice. Uh-oh, it's all right. We'll just put it back. Nice, nice. Okay, and so now let's put some on the cross. They look really beautiful with the flowers. Here we go. One more? Here you go. Thank you. Let me help. I know, they go up high. Here they go. And if you didn't get a chance to do something with your butterfly, before you go sit down in just a few minutes, you can put it on the cross, okay? You can clip it to a flower or a piece of the wire. So I want to talk to you just a minute about butterflies, right? So they don't start out as butterflies. What do they start out as? Caterpillars. And what's a caterpillar?
A baby butterfly.
It is a baby butterfly. It's a larva, right? And it looks like a fuzzy worm. Doesn't it look like a fuzzy worm to you? And from the minute they are born, they start to eat. And they eat, and they eat. And as they eat, they get longer. And they eat, and they get longer. And they eat, and they get longer. And eventually, they've eaten so much they can't eat anymore. And then they climb up on a leaf or a twig and they hang upside down. And then they begin to spin. And some of them, like a spider, spin a web, a fuzzy cocoon all around them. And some of them form a chrysalis, which is a hardened cocoon. Have you ever seen them hang? Whoa, I know, it's amazing. And they hang upside down. And while they're in that place, that cocoon, that tight, dark, confined place, something happens to them. It does. And right before it turns into a butterfly, something amazing happens. The caterpillar's body begins to dissolve. It literally dissolves in that tight space and completely reforms as a butterfly. It's still the same as the caterpillar, but it's brand new now. It was a caterpillar, it was liquid, and now it's a butterfly. And when it starts to come out, it starts to eat, and push through the cocoon, and push through the cocoon, and the strength it takes to exercise its wings, to push its way out, well, that struggle makes it strong. And it makes it strong enough to fly. And so on Easter morning, we often show butterflies to talk about what happens to Jesus. When Jesus goes in the tight, dark tomb, and something happens, and then the tomb is opened, and Christ comes out, new and transformed, the same but new. Have you ever seen a butterfly? Yeah. Yes,
There's a whole butterfly. There's a whole caterpillar turns into a thing.
they do. There's just a little, excuse me a moment, a little piece of science. Yes, they do. Some of them already have like little clusters of cells. They actually call them imaginal discs. So sometimes I know, see, it's amazing. Science is wonderful. And so some of them have something called imaginal discs already, which means it's a little clump of cells that's already attached and it doesn't break loose. And so they say that there are some caterpillars who have almost a little wing on the inside. You just can't see it. Sort of like all of us, where there's all kinds of imaginal discs inside us. Maybe wings, maybe beautiful colors. Maybe you're going to be blue. Maybe you're going to have one wing and you're going to have two. Maybe you're going to fly high, and maybe you're going all the way to Mexico with thousands of others on a tree to bring new life. And now, my butterflies, if you don't mind standing up, I'd like to talk to your folks for just a minute and go back and sit with them. Thank you so much. Risen. So we've made it. We made it to Sunday, Easter morning. But many of us remember Good Friday, the day of Jesus' death. And then we celebrate Easter morning because Christ is risen. Christ is risen. And do you notice how we skip over Saturday? We often skip over the time when Jesus is put into a tight, dark place. We skip over that time of not knowing. We skip over the time of darkness because we know what darkness is like, don't we? We all know what suffering feels like. I mean, maybe you've lost your job or you have so many bills you don't know how to pay them. Maybe you have a child that's addicted to drugs, or maybe it's you. Maybe someone you love carries the weight of depression, or maybe it's you. Maybe you got the test result back and they were positive. Maybe you have parents that you don't know how to care for, but they need you now. But how do you care for them, work your job, and care for your children? And maybe you care for your children, but you are also raising your grandchildren. We all know what it's like to feel the burden of a dark, tight place. And that's the reason we have to notice Saturday before we can see the resurrection of Sunday. Butterflies are not born flying. They're born crawling, seeing every little blade of grass they must cross. And it's not until they've been in that place and they have been bold enough to let go, to become liquid, to be reformed and transformed for Easter morning, that they become butterflies. And our God, through Jesus, went into that dark tomb so that we would never be alone in the dark. You never have to be alone there again. Even in the darkest dark nights of the soul, whether you're physically in darkness or spiritually in darkness or both, You are not alone. But each and every one of us reach a place in our life where we have to be willing to let go. When we know that transformation must come. If you open the cocoon before the butterfly's wings are ready, it cannot survive. And so each and every one of us has to be bold enough to turn loose of the things we have held so tightly to, whether it's something we have loved or whether it's our own sorrow that has become a close friend. We must go through the time of liquid, the time of Saturday, before we can really spread our wings and fly. Mary went while it was still dark. That's what Dan told you. While it was still dark, she got up and she went to the tomb. We don't know what that Saturday had been like for her or the disciples, but we know they were afraid. It tells us in the Bible they were afraid. And I think they were heartsick. Their dreams were destroyed. Their hope was lost. They thought they were going to have a Messiah, a Savior who was going to change the world for them. It never occurred to them that they were going to have to change their world. And isn't that what we want? We sometimes say, oh God, just make that all better. As though God is the one who brought you suffering. I don't think God ever brings you suffering. We are a broken people and we live in a broken world. And sometimes we make bad decisions, but often it is the brokenness and the stress and the strain and the sickness in our world that brings our suffering. But because of that dark, tight tomb of Saturday, God knows that and is with us there. Over and over in the Bible, more than any other phrase, it says, do not be afraid. Fear not. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the dark. Do not be afraid of the transformation. Do not be afraid of the cocoon, because it is by pushing through that stone, rolling the stone away, that we gain strength. And that we remember that God is always with us, always ready, always whispering. And that's how Mary Magdalene knew him. Not when she saw him, but when she heard him. And that's often how we know God. That still small voice inside us that whispers when we are most afraid in the dark, do not be afraid. You are not alone. At any given moment, you can lean back in the embrace of our loving Christ, who came out of the tomb and was transformed. Friends, this is Easter morning. This is the day that we celebrate that every single day, not just once a year, but every single morning, you can choose resurrection. Every single day, you have the chance to say, I am bold, I am willing, I will be transformed. No matter what your body feels like, no matter what is happening around you, you may choose resurrection. And it's through that choice that you and me and all of us together learn to fly. Christ is risen.